anybody who watches Wildy and Tausch. Wildy kind of dropped a little nugget on the show today, and it really took me off guard. We could play the sound bite, but it's almost 4 minutes long. So I'm going to just kind of read this article we put together, kind of referencing what Jason Wildy was talking about. And I wanted to play it we might play like a small section of it just to get Mark Tauscher's response to it. Matter of fact, let's do that. Let's kick it off with that instead. All right. So let me pull a screen grab up here. I'm used to Tim carrying this show. I can't. Oh, all right. Look at Emilio. Good stuff, man. I'm assuming that was Emilio.
Yeah, for sure.
This was on Wildy and Tausch earlier today. I'm going to play just probably the first minute. I want you to hear what Jason Wildy said. Then we'll dive into the article because this kind of caught me off guard. I want to see if it caught you guys off guard. Here we go.
There are some rumblings that maybe he has not been at the off-season program. Now,
it's Elgton Jenkins, by the way.
I don't know that for certain. He was
That's
not
juicy.
he was not in the pictures that were posted, right?
Juicy.
We did not get a chance to ask Matt LaFleur. So I want to be very clear. I don't know about his attendance. Okay.
But it's juicy. You'd admit it's juicy.
If accurate, then it is definitely very juicy.
Okay.
But he's got 2 years left on his deal. They just paid Aaron Banks a crap ton of money. He plays for a team that he knows they don't like to give out third contracts. He's got 2 years left on his second contract.
Oh, listen to these breadcrumbs. I'm at the Picasterie, and there's breadcrumbs all on the floor. And they're leading to some real juicy.
All right, so I'll just leave it at that. That was on the Wildy and Tausch page over there on X. So make sure you guys go check that out and listen to the whole 3-minute clip. I heard that, and I was like, what the hell's going on out here? Right? It kind of caught me off guard a little bit. And again, I want to put emphasis on what Wildy put emphasis on, that he doesn't know for sure. All he knows for sure is that no one has confirmed that Elgton Jenkins was at the offseason program. All right. So we put a little article together here, and I'll try to get through it kind of quick. Elgton Jenkins' absence from Packers offseason program raises questions about the contract future. Green Bay Packers two-time Pro Bowl offensive lineman Elgton Jenkins has been a cornerstone for the team's offensive line since being drafted in the second round of 2019. However, recent reports from ESPN Wisconsin's Jason Wildy suggest that Jenkins may not have attended, and I want to emphasize may not have attended, okay, any of the Packers' voluntary offseason program activities, sparking speculation about his future with the team, coupled with his reported transition from left guard to center for the 2025 season. All right. Went on to say on April 28th, Matt Schneidman of The Athletic reported that Jenkins was not spotted in team photographer Evan Siegel's 154-picture gallery from the first day of the Packers' voluntary workouts. Other notable players, including Jair Alexander, Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, and Matt Orzing, were also absent from the gallery. But Jenkins' absence drew particular attention due to his leadership role in recent positional shift. Wildy, on his May 7th, 2025 episode of Wildy and Tausch, emphasized that he has, quote, no proof Jenkins attended any offseason activities, stating, quote, I do think this is something that we need to monitor. While voluntary workouts are not mandatory, the absence of a player of Jenkins' caliber raises eyebrows, especially given the timing and his contract situation. So obviously they're looking to move him to center. Let me get your all's initial thoughts on it. Again, it might be something he got excused. It might be something that this is not going to be a part of his 90% that he needs to attend in order to get a bonus that may or may not be there. We don't know all the details. But this did kind of pop up for me, like, if you're going from left guard to center, right, and you're trying to get a third contract, they just spent a ton of money on Aaron Banks, right, and you drafted Anthony Belton. It does kind of raise a few questions. So I'll start with let's start with you, Jacob. What do you think, man? You think this is a big nothing burger, or is this kind of worry you a little bit?
Well, it's definitely a little unsettling for this time of year. And like you just said, we didn't all really pay attention to the fact that we made such moves, such critical moves on the offensive line, but thinking that we'd just have Elgton there as just a gimme. And now it's starting to look like, hey, man, maybe they were doing that because they knew something we didn't. What if Elgton, here's another what if, this is a big what if game here. What if he's not happy about moving to center? What if that's not something we all just assume that he's cool with moving from, at one point we threw him into tackle, now we threw him into guard, and then we're like, hey, we'll just give you center. H.E. Soder says voluntary is the key word here, which I believe he's talking about the workouts, but still it seems odd because, again, he's the type of a leadership type role, especially if you are going to be switching to being the kind of captain of that offensive line, being the center. You'd think you'd want to get out there and have as much chemistry, as many reps as you can. Brambo says wants that center money, but I disagree because that's the opposite of what's going on here. He's probably, and I believe I highlighted – it was Chris the Casual N said the same thing. He says you would think Jenkins would be happy, might be the highest paid center for the next 2 years. Even I think if you on the contract he's playing right now, I think other than maybe a few others that are the highest paid centers in the league right now. But all that to be said, who knows? It could be a big nothing burger, like J. Cole says. He says much to do about nothing. If he holds out of mandatory camp, then it's a different ball game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, low key, I could care less right now that Ellen didn't show up. It's like a little snippet. It's a couple days, and then you're off, and then you're back on. Then you're off for the month. So, mandatory would be the key one that I'd be worried about him missing. And yeah, I get the wanting to make a good impression and moving to center and everything. But I'm sure he's already talked to Jay Love about it. I'm sure it's like even if he wasn't at the voluntary, he's probably already talked to half of his teammates, players, whatever it is. If he missed for a reason, good reason, bad reason, he's probably already let them know it, even though it just, he wasn't there in the pictures.
Definitely. As Prince points out, he has a $500,000 workout bonus according to Spot Track, as you can see here on the screen, in terms of what he is, his cap hit. Let's just go off cap hit here because the remaining contract obviously becomes a little bit obsolete with guaranteed money already be kind of off the table. $17.6 million cap hit this year. Next year it jumps to 24.8, which of course there's only a dead cap amount of 4.8 attached next year, which means the Packers could free up $20 million in space if they just move on from him next year. So all that kind of comes into play. Now, I want to point out that when you see this offseason workout, yes, like Soder said, it's voluntary, right? Which I do think it's hilarious that when Aaron Rodgers skipped voluntary stuff, he was the worst person on the face of the earth. When other people do it, it's just voluntary, right? Mm-hmm. That's not a shot at Soder. That's just kind of how a good portion of the fan base looked at Aaron Rodgers. Like if he's not allowed to miss anything, but if Job misses it, it's no big deal. It's just voluntary, right? He has with this $500,000 workout bonus, I believe Jair's was like a little over 90% participation in order to get that bonus. And that's something that was started with Ted Thompson back in the day. He would structure those bonuses because he knew guys didn't want to come back before training camp or before the mandatory mini camps. So they tried to give them an incentive to stay involved. So with that being said, is he going to skip out on that $500,000 bonus, right? And again, he may have been there and working out of camera sight. You know what I mean? That could have been the case too. And I thought Wildy done an excellent job of pointing that out as well. So it's just, I don't know, it kind of piqued my interest. Like I would expect him to be there,
Right. That's so the bonus does affect that 500, or I'm sorry, the voluntary would affect that $500,000 bonus. It's not just for mandatories.
That's what they said about Jair. I'm assuming that's how they structure all of those bonuses.
Gotcha.
Now, there's also a chance that maybe Elton's is different.
Right.
I doubt it, but because I know that they put that workout bonus in to try to keep people drawn back to the facility.
But if he's going to get a reworked contract, does he need $500,000 right now? No, not if he's about to get paid. Not if he's about to be paid as a top 2 center, in the league or whatever. He's about to make bread. He doesn't need the $500,000 right this second.
I still feel like though that him as a leader would almost feel obligated to be there.
And that's the thing, Jacob. To this point, it's felt like Elton's been a leader, right? So this is why it's a little out of character for me. Like of all the people, if you just said a month ago, hey, pick a veteran that's not going to be there, he'd probably been last on my list.
Yeah, I wouldn't even thought about it.
Do you think it's any agent pushing him to do any of this or no?
Here's the thing, like when we're talking center money, all this stuff, when we signed Elgton Jenkins, his number was a little inflated because you guys remember there was a chance that he was going to be playing left tackle at the time. Like they were talking about him playing left tackle, right tackle, moving around. So his agent's going to go, look, bub, if we're going to be playing tackle, we're not settling for guard money. So that number was a little high, right? Well, the same type of thing, if they're asking him to now switch positions from guard to center, right? I could see the agent being like, well, can we get a little bump in pay? I mean, you're asking us to move around again type thing. I wouldn't put that past that agent for sure, Lee in the chat says if he was upset that would be the problem. What would be the problem? Moving him around. That's the thing too, right, Lee? We haven't heard anything from his camp. All we heard, if I remember correctly, it was Goody that stated he was going to be moving to center. I'm trying to think. I had it in here. The Packers confirmed earlier this offseason that Jenkins, who was primarily played left guard during his NFL career, will move to center for the 2025 season. This decision, reported by ESPN's Rob Demovsky on April 1st, 2025, aims to bolster the team's rushing attack, particularly for running back Josh Jacobs. Jenkins, who played center during his college career at Mississippi State, is seen as versatile lineman, capable of playing all 5 offensive line positions. Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst noted, quote, "We had plenty of conversations with Elgton leading up to it, and obviously he played center in college. He's a luxury." So, yeah, I think it's safe to say that Goody's mentioned it and Rob Demovsky's reported on it, whether that came from the team side or Elton's side. I believe it's not going to be something that just kind of came out of nowhere. You know what I mean?
That next paragraph kind of dives into it, and I think this could be a little more of a indication as to why he might be a little upset.
Yeah, the move to center could enhance the Packers' offensive cohesion, given Jenkins' experience and athleticism. However, it also comes with financial implications. Centers are typically paid less than guards or tackles, and Jenkins' current contract, with an average annual value of $17 million, would rank him 4th among NFL centers. This positional shift could complicate future contract negotiations, potentially costing Jenkins earning potential in his next deal. Mike Wall talked about this last year when we were talking about potentially moving Elgton Jenkins to center. He said Mike Wall was adamant about, why would Elgton Jenkins take less money? That's crazy. Right. Why would you do that? And when you go to center, you take less money. So just something, like I said, to kind of keep our eye on. For sure. It says contract situation, seeking security. Jenkins is under contract with the Packers through 2026 with a cap hit of 17.6 in 25 and a substantial increase to 24.8 million in 26. At age 30 in 26, Jenkins will be approaching the latter stages of his prime, making his next contract critical for long-term financial security. His current deal, signed in December of 22, is a 4-year, $68 million extension, reflecting his value as one of the NFL's premier interior linemen. However, the rising salary cap and recent contracts for offensive linemen, such as Joe Thuney's trade to the Chicago Bears, which include a lucrative deal, may have Jenkins eyeing a restructure or extension to align his compensation with market. Wildy's comments on Wildy and Tausch suggest that Jenkins' absence could be a strategic move to signal his desire for a new contract. Quote, "If we follow the breadcrumbs, are we finding something going on with Elgton Jenkins and the Packers this offseason?" Wildy asked, hinting at potential tension. While there is no concrete evidence that Jenkins is holding out or formally requesting a new deal, his absence from voluntary workouts aligns with a common tactic used by players seeking to renegotiate. The Packers face cap challenges in 26, with Jenkins' $24.8 million cap hit representing a significant portion of their projected salary cap. A restructured deal could lower his cap hit in 26 while providing Jenkins with guaranteed money up front. We talk about that all the time, cash over cap. When you look at the structure of his contract in 2026, $18.5 million is base salary, with a signing bonus that's already been paid out of $4.8 million, a roster bonus of only $1 million. So what you could do is convert a good chunk of that base salary to signing bonus, write him a check that day, and lower that base salary, and kind of maybe you could shave $3 to $5 million off of it and give him more guaranteed money. That might make sense for both parties, to be honest with you. So I'm personally not panicking at this point, but I haven't heard anyone else talk about it other than Wildy today. So I thought, why not? Let's go ahead and get out in front of it just in case this is a thing. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. What do you think about Coach Lynn saying maybe he's upset about the bank signing? Goes on a little bit later to say, I'd be upset if they sign someone that much money that plays my spots. Yep. And then just assuming, hey, we're going to tuck Elgton, old tried and true Elgton. He'll just go with the program. You know what I mean? We'll kick him inside center, give him a pay cut. And I'm sure that Elgton wouldn't take too kindly to that.
I will say this, Coach, the only thing that makes me feel better about that situation and not concerned with what you're talking about there is the Goody comment, right? Goody noted we had plenty of conversations with Elgton leading up to it. So it's not like he's blindsided by it, right? But still, that doesn't change the fact that he might want a different contract for sure. So, given like Chris says here, exactly, Mike Berry. So Mike Berry made a comment. Seasons are changing. Centers do have longevity generally. Chris Casual says exactly, Mike Berry. Google Goot's third contract history and a picture of Satan top results. He does not play with those third contracts unless it's a kind of a generational talent. Tay got offered one. He turned it down after they lowballed him. He was even really, really hesitant to give Tay that offer. That's what pissed Devontae Adams off, right? Aaron obviously got one. David Bakhtiari got one. I can't think of anyone else.
Kenny
Clark. Kenny got one. You're right. So Kenny, there's 4. So that's 4 since Goody's been here, right? So 4 and since 2019. So 4 in, what would that be? 5 years, 6 years now. So yeah, he's definitely hesitant on that for sure. We talked about the security implications for the Packers. Jenkins' potential dissatisfaction comes at a pivotal time for the Packers, who are coming off a competitive 2024 season playoff appearance. The team made significant offensive additions in the 2025 NFL Draft, selecting wide receiver Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, as well as offensive tackle Anthony Belton, who is also rumored to be competing for the right guard position as opposed to his natural left tackle spot. We're going to talk about that in a separate segment here a little bit later when we break down the offensive line, like the 5 things to watch for with the offensive line, because they keep talking about that on Wildy and Tausch, and that caught me off guard. I expected Anthony Belton to compete for left tackle, and it sounds like they may be letting Jordan Morgan compete for left tackle and then kick Anthony Belton inside to compete at right guard.
That would make sense. I mean, you think about coming into the NFL as a whole, Anthony Belton, you want him to go out there and try to learn. I mean, not that he needs to relearn left tackle, but at the NFL speed, at least Morgan's played at NFL speed for a year, knows the offense, knows the calls. If he misses a call, you'd want to also probably get the new kid closer to the center. That way we can make sure all our line calls. So we had a problem with that as well. We got to be able to protect. We got to be able to snap the ball in loud environments, and all that can play a factor.
Definitely. And as Chris the Casual Win said, terrible third contracts, all failures. They failed to sign Devontae Adams because they lowballed him first, right? The third contract for David Bakhtiari, obviously, it was injury riddled. That ended up being a complete failure. Kenny Clark, I think we would all agree, has not lived up to that pay. So, yeah, I can't disagree with that, Chris. I cannot. So, anything else you guys want to hit on there with the Elgton Jenkins talk? Anything else?
No, I think we thoroughly investigated that situation.